I'm Niecy Brown. I'm at the Great Western Tears Visitor Centre in front of the winter panel of our beautiful YARNS artwork in silk. I was the artistic director for this big project over the 3-year period 30 years ago.
It opened in 1995. How many people were involved?
We reckon it was somewhere between 200 and 250, mainly women. There were a few men that came in and helped with fairly large logistical issues going on behind the scenes here. Yeah, and it was originally designed and made for the auditorium further down in Deloraine, but a group of men decided it needed a much better spot, and that's how the Great Western Tears Visitor Centre was born. They actually built the building for this work. And of course the Visitor Centre has gone on to support and attract a whole lot of tourism to the area, which is just wonderful. Yeah.
What was the thinking behind starting and making the project?
Sure. There's a very famous tiger man called Ned Terry. Ned Terry sadly has passed away, but Ned was a real shaker and mover in this community, lots of things. And he'd visited a place in Griffiths that had a theatre curtain that had applique work, and came back to Deloraine and said, "We've got to have one. Come on, everybody, we've got to have one." And he was a dog with a bone. Ned was also famous for tracking the Tasmanian tiger. So dear Ned did get to put a couple of stitches in here. Yeah.
You've received a lot of recognition for the work. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yes, there's been a book, I'm sorry I haven't got the name in my head at the moment, it was 30 years ago,
yeah.
But yes, a major book on world textile work. YARNS gets a big double-page spread in that. TripAdvisor constantly, through the actions of the Visitor Centre, YARNS is accredited through TripAdvisor, and in 2024 it was named as one of the top 10 attractions in the world. Yeah. And I think there's been something like 140,000 visits over the time. Yeah.
So to come and visit and check it out on site, they need to book, or can they just come into the visitor
just
centre?
turn up. It has an audio-visual thing that goes with it, with some explanation about how it was done, when it was done, why it was done. And that audio-visual, I think, runs on the hour, so people just come, and if it's not ready to start, they can have a look around the other things in the building and then come in. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the way it was made?
Okay, so the very first thing I did was consulted the community, Girl Guides, Probus, Rotary. There was something like 40 different groups of people. So because my background is in community arts, I'm really clear in the understanding of ownership and involvement and inclusion. So I spoke to all those groups and we'd brainstorm what was important about Meander Valley. And so from that brainstorm, I then spent several months with a couple of colleagues assisting and drafted what it would look like. And then a lovely man called Tony Imerson, he said, "Oh, it's so big, you'll need to use some machinery to project your drawings." So we did that. And so if I could just perhaps point to something as an example. We knew we were going to have a big tree. We had a little drawing with a big tree on it. So we enlarged that drawing and that was given out to a person to complete. In this case, I did the tree. But so instead of a thing that was made up of squares, there was a lot of overlapping and underlapping to make it read as a picture. Yeah. Any of the volunteers that came along, they would get a life-size, I say drawing, like a cartoon. They would get a bundle of the silk that we all dyed. We had silk dyeing workshops, and they would go home with what they needed to complete their section. And then as they bring it back into the workroom, we'd sew it together. Yeah.
Complicated process.
It was quite involved, yeah.
Now the 30th anniversary celebration is coming up. Can you talk about those details?
30th of March at 2:30, and we're just hoping that all of the beautiful women that worked on this can come and just reunite. Sadly, it was 30 years ago, and some of those women were in their 70s, 80s then, so they have passed away. But there's still a lot of people, and we're attempting to gather all the names and addresses and forward the invitation. But I'd love it if people knew Auntie So-and-so did a bit, Auntie So-and-so needs to know, to come along, bring a little plate to share if she wants to. And we have the best scone maker in the world, lives in Deloraine, Suze Hayward. She's going to make scones and tea and coffee, a lovely afternoon tea here at the Visitor Centre.